Welcome back to Hot Mess Espresso, guys. I know I have a bunch of parents on, so listen up. You're going to want to hear this episode. I actually have the founder of BeeKyn, Miss Alli Kushner.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. Any place that has espresso in the name or in reality, I'm there.
Well, you're a parent. You probably run on a lot of caffeine.
That and my hopes and dreams, which are, or my last nerve, which is often on fire,
Yep. The will to live, like it's in the dumpster and smoking a little bit, but we're doing it.
That's it.
So, the biggest thing is your postpartum story. It's actually raw and just not pretty, and I think we need to hear it more. So obviously it started with the birth of a child, but
It did.
How did
very
that
tiny child.
Yeah, very tiny child. But just kind of give us the background on all of that.
Sure. So I did not have a storybook pregnancy. I never thought I was going to be quite honest, but it was definitely not a storybook. I had lots of medical issues that I dealt with, and towards the end, wound up having hypertension, had edema. It was not pretty, and I wound up being induced at 37 weeks. This is just the backstory. My daughter wound up being born by emergency C-section because after many, many, many hours in labor, they were like, hey, this isn't going to happen for you. So off to the OR you go. And it just was one thing after the other. I wouldn't say it was one event specifically, but it was definitely a downward spiral in my early postpartum days. And many, many birthing parents deal with the baby blues, and that definitely came and went. But as brand new parents, it was our first child. We, and by we, I mean my husband, had no idea what to look for. I was recovering from major surgery, so definitely had no idea what to look for. And very quickly, I just started spiraling down this hole, which we later found out was postpartum depression. And it was not, to say it wasn't pretty, I guess would be an understatement. It was a roller coaster. And I wound up writing about the whole experience in a very cathartic way for Motherly back in January. But I honestly don't remember a lot of my early postpartum days because it was just so traumatic for me. There are a couple of things that stand out. One being that I questioned whether or not I was meant to be a parent. What did I do? And I wound up calling realtors in small towns and inquiring about small, cute studios, for one person, because it was just me. I had no baggage. And I was considering just picking up and leaving because I thought my daughter and husband would be better off without me. And because that wasn't a light that there was something wrong, I was able to conceal it from everyone, and people thought it was just a regular struggle of the transition to motherhood, but it was something much, much deeper. I wound up running back to work as soon as the doctor cleared me post C-section. I buried myself in spreadsheets and my regular work stuff because that's how I knew how to control it. I knew the outcomes. It wasn't a little baby that I had to, understand. And it just kept going down, down, down. And the breaking point, I live in New York City, and the breaking point it was sometime in December, and this was roughly 6 months postpartum. And I was standing on a subway platform, and the thought just popped into my head, I wonder what it takes someone to jump in front of a train. And not that I was actually thinking about it. Like, to be clear, like I was not contemplating actually leaping off of the platform, but the fact that that thought just made its way into my head, and I describe it as, would you like hot or iced coffee? That was like the conversation that I was having in my head. And that's when I was like, oh, okay, I think there's something wrong here.
Yeah. I know that, like, because I have friends that are parents. At your 6-week checkup, did you just kind of do that kind of bullshit depression scale where they're like, that's how they determine whether there's something wrong or not?
Yeah, it's like a Cosmo quiz that's how I compared it to, like,
no, you're not wrong at all.
You can lie. Like, there's no one saying you must tell the truth, A.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I moderately told the truth. Like I definitely was not 100% honest on that scale. And I also got it by email, so I was able to click, delete, delete, delete a million times. And it was at my OB as well as our pediatrician. Like, so you get this quiz, this scale from multiple avenues. But after you take that, regardless of what your score is, at least in the case of with my providers, they said, the only thing that was said is, hey, you might want to look into this. It wasn't like there was a
What?
definitive, there's a problem here. Like you need help. It was
Yeah.
we're checking the box. And I honestly, I don't fault any of these providers because the OB, they're responsible when you're a vessel, right? You're a vessel for bringing this human into the
Right.
world, and they're responsible for making sure that that child comes into the world safely, that you go through birth safely, the period of pregnancy. And yay, my OB did that. Like they did their job. Afterwards, the baby's in the world. Not that I'm no longer their responsibility, but they're not trained in the psychiatric and all of
Yeah.
that stuff. And then when you bring your kid into the pediatrician, it's a pediatrician.
Right.
So they're also not skilled. They're just a checkpoint for going through these motions. And in in retrospect, it is scary. It's scary to know that you have these checkpoints, but there isn't someone definitively who's like, okay, hold up the stop sign saying, do not pass go, do not
Yeah.
collect $200. Like you need to get checked out.
Right. I feel like there's a huge gap in all of that. And like, granted, they can be like, hey, you should go get this checked out. But when you're a brand new mom and you were just trying to like get through the next 24 hours, the last thing you want to do is like research psychiatrists, make phone calls, make appointments, like arrange chat. Like
Hmm?
nobody's going to want to do that.
We'll also layer in the insurance component because
Ugh,
let's like lay our cards on the
literally.
table. The majority of these programs, at least the ones that I found or were available to me, do not accept insurance. They are not in-network providers. So on
Mhm.
top of, like, I'm very lucky that I have great insurance coverage, and bringing my child into the world was not a hugely expensive endeavor. I might be making up the numbers here, but I think like the average cost for child, to bring a kid into the world is like 7 or 8 grand that, you have insurance. Thankfully, that was not the case for me. But for the postpartum care, then what? You're talking, minimum a couple $100 a session, and you have a new child who has needs. Like there are a lot of things to consider. And so for me, it was also, oh, that's not worth my time. B, I don't have the time. C, these people have no idea what they're talking about. And also, like, that's a lot of money. So the system is set up in such a way that we're, okay, we'll bring the kid into the world, but then you should want the parents to be okay in
Right.
order to care for that child. I mean, that's just me, but that's
Yeah. I feel like that's common sense, but
here we
no
are with
such
that
thing.
common sense. And again, I think that there's good intentions everywhere. The world is
Hmm.
littered with good intentions, but this is an area that is just it's common for birthing parents to experience postpartum depression or it's called a PMAD, perinatal. I'm going to butcher all of this. It's called a PMAD, perinatal mood and anxiety disorder, and there's a whole spectrum of things that fall under that. And so the most common one, I believe, is postpartum depression. So people have heard of PPD, but there's postpartum anxiety, there's postpartum psychosis, there's postpartum OCD, and the list goes on and on and on. So you have to know what you're looking for. You have to be able to diagnose it. You have to be able to get treatment. And oh, by the way, that treatment may not be covered.
Or you may not have like the support of people. Like
Sure.
when they say it takes a village, it literally takes a village to be able to open up
Mm-hmm.
outside of sessions.
Yeah.
And like not everybody has that. And not everybody it's not even that not everybody has that. People may have that, but they may not have people that are actually like think it's a thing.
Right.
They're just
Yeah.
like, "Oh, you're a new mom, you're overwhelmed, like it's no big deal." Like,
You should be
no.
happy. You should be
Ugh.
happy.
You should be
That's
happy. Okay.
I mean, that's a very, very common one that it's, you just brought this,
Mhm.
look at this beautiful baby, look what your body did. And all of that can be true. And it is true,
Mhm.
but that doesn't invalidate the entire other side of the equation. And what you said about the village, I love it because one thing that I often say is, yes, it takes a village. It takes a very, very large village. Like we're talking metropolis level. And
Mhm.
people say you need the village, but no one gives you directions on how to get there. Like we're all
Yeah.
working not with GPS level Google Maps and Waze. We're working with that old gas station flip, map that was plastic and you'd be holding the steering wheel and the map with the other. Like it's hard to find it. No one knows where it is.
Yeah. Because nobody really fully understands, like, the effects of this. I don't think even, like, the parents understand until it hits them like a bus and they're like, "Oh, that's what this is
I'm
like."
still processing and I went through
Yeah.
this twice. I went through postpartum depression and then I went through perinatal depression with my second daughter.
Now
St-
perinatal is while you're pregnant, correct?
Correct. And I'm pretty sure looking back that I probably had perinatal depression with my eldest too. I just, again, you don't know what you don't know. But I
Right.
definitely had PPD, postpartum depression with my eldest. And then with the second one, when I got pregnant, I think it was towards the end of the first trimester. And my husband looked at me and he was like, there's something not right here. And we knew, like at that point, we had been so educated. And when we were deciding to try for a second, I had been through this intensive outpatient program and my providers were very clear on like what we needed to look for and the signs and what was available for treatment. And I counted myself lucky in that sense because going through it a second time, again, still sucked, but it
Mhm.
was caught much earlier. It was treated much earlier. And by the time my youngest was born, I did not go through that intense postpartum depression.
Do you think that, knowing the signs and, like, obviously having a supportive partner and stuff made you, like, slightly more prepared? Like, you could brace yourself a little bit more?
100%. And I don't remember the statistics or if there were statistics, but at some point someone said, hey, the likelihood is that you're going to experience something. That yes, every pregnancy is different, but you went through it the first time. I think you're more likely, is what someone had said to me. You're more likely to go through it the second time. So I was mentally prepared that something was coming. I was still hesitant to accept that it was happening because when you're in
Mhm.
it, no one wants to say, "Oh yes, yay, it's here."
Right.
Like that's not, you're not looking forward to that guest at the dinner table. But it was a much quicker acceptance process of okay, this is where we're at. It was a lot quicker to get through it, and it makes all the world of difference. A, when you know what you're looking for, or not even when you know what you're looking for, when somebody who's close to you in your life knows what to look for. Because when you're going through pregnancy and postpartum, it's an out of body experience in so many ways that you need a guardian angel in that way to be
Yeah.
looking out for you.
Did you struggle with, like, your mental health at all before all of this came on, or was this, like, brand new?
It was brand new. I mean, throughout my life during adolescence, I definitely had the not stereotypical, but the very common teenage angst and anxiety
Mhm.
and depression. I've gone through ups and downs throughout my life, but this was a whole other level.
Right.
So it I want to hope at least that people who do have varying um, challenges in the mental health spectrum, that if and when they're choosing to try to get pregnant and to go through pregnancy, I would like to hope that if they're under treatment, that someone is flagging these things. But I was not in a position where I had already had providers.
Now, if somebody, doesn't really know what to look for, what are just some, I guess, more common signs that are, like, out there that something might be wrong?
Yeah, so let me preface this by saying I am not a medical professional at all. So I'm only speaking from my experience.
Right.
Um, but for me, it was a severe disconnect. So in the case of postpartum depression, it was not wanting to be around my child. It was not feeling connected to my child. Those were the two main ones. And I mean, those were very deep seated. It was also not feeling interested in just doing things. So getting up in the morning and having the desire to shower and get ready for the day, even if you're getting back into pajamas because you're taking care of a kid, even if you're exhausted, looking out for those sort of, okay, something doesn't feel rosy here. And it's so hard, especially if you're a first-time parent, because it's all new. But if at any point it's like, I have no desire to be around my kid, or I'm questioning why I had a child, that's a little, spidey sense or mommy sense
Yeah.
that something might not be doing right.
Now, did you have completely different symptoms between either one of your kids?
So because it was postpartum the first time and perinatal the second, it was slightly different.
Mhm.
For my second pregnancy, it was a complete feeling of overwhelm, and that I couldn't function. My executive functioning was completely shot to shit. To be
Right.
quite blunt about it, that I was working, and through my first pregnancy, I worked up until I was in labor. Literally, I was in L&D getting induced, and I was writing emails. And that was not because my employer, by the way, was demanding it. It was because, like, I'm just a crazy workaholic,
I'm
and
the same way.
yeah, and I was heads down, and it was a distraction. So just to be clear on that,
Yeah.
I have a fabulous employer. But for the second one, I got to the point where I couldn't process emails. Like, I would read something 20 times and I couldn't tell you what I read. That the simple act of turning on my computer and looking at my inbox made me want to cry. That I had gone from this high functioning person to this I can't function at all person.
Yeah. Do you think that gets, like, confused with pregnancy brain?
I hate the term pregnancy brain. I
So do
truly
I.
do. It
But
just,
because, like, I have, like, pregnancy brain and I am childless.
you
It
know,
is my
pregnancy brain by
ADHD,
choice.
okay?
Pregnancy brain, it's such an interesting thing. It's also like we say mom brain afterwards. And, there are all of these tropes that you can use. At the end of the day, I think it's normal. Your body is, on hormones to the nth degree that you're like,
Mhm.
things are raging through you. So yeah, things are going to be different. But I don't think the mom brain or the pregnancy brain leads to a complete debilitation of your ability to function. Like, you might
Exactly.
be slower first trimester. Moms who have been through it will know what I mean. Like, I took naps every which, like, if there was a nap opportunity, I was under my desk taking the nap. Like, if there was a spot that looked cozy, I was there.
Mhm.
And then I would get up and, move on with my life during my first pregnancy. During
Mhm.
the second one, I was just down for the count. There was no
Mhm.
getting back up. So I would say that they're very different. You might mistake it for one, but it's also a very slippery slope. Again, my non-professional opinion.
Right. No, that's why I was asking because I was like, I wonder if like half of these symptoms get chalked up to like, oh, it's just your hormones. It's just pregnancy brain. You're just like,
I mean,
you're overwhelmed because you're about to transition from 1 to 2. Like, that's normal. It's like, no, it's not.
there are so many medical scenarios with
Mhm.
women, and if we look at um, women going into just an average woman going to the doctor and saying, I don't feel well in X. And a doctor says, oh, it's just your age. Oh, it's just, the time of year. Oh, it's just allergies. And your body. You know when
Mhm.
something does not feel right. And I think a lot of women, myself included, have trouble trusting our instincts because society has told us, okay, well, you're not an expert. True, you're not an expert, you're not a medical professional, but you are an expert in your own body. And if you're
Exactly.
going through pregnancy, that's a new experience, but it's still your experience.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, just because women have higher pain tolerances and stuff, they're just like, oh, it's fine. It's fine. Or like, they're like, you know, everything comes down to your BMI.
Oh,
Like,
God.
something feels
Don't get
weird,
me
but your
started.
BMI is 2 points above. And it's like, by the way, the BMI is bullshit because even I'm like, quote, overweight on my BMI and I'm a size 2. And I'm like, okay. But like, that's what they immediately start looking at with like women's issues. So I'm sure it's even worse when you're pregnant.
That's why you have to be your own best advocate. And that's why I'm very, very, very unapologetically loud about maternal mental health and my experience in every forum that I have. So I post on LinkedIn all of the time about working parent content, things that are important to working parents or issues working parents have. And I post a lot about my maternal mental health experience. And when I first started doing that, it felt super cringy.
Mhm.
Like, A, this is a professional platform. Why am I talking about that time that I checked myself into an outpatient psychiatric center? Like, that seems a bit strange. But I had tons of people, surprisingly many men, reach out to me and say, thank you so much for talking about this because I'm newly married, or my wife and I are thinking about having kids. And I had no idea that this was something that she could go through. And again,
Mhm.
I'm not a medical professional. I can't tell you what to look out for with your wife, but the fact that they now knew because I shared my experience that there is this whole class of issues under the PMAD, the perinatal mood and anxiety disorder. Hopefully, some of them will just be a little bit more aware.
Yeah, exactly. Um, you had both of your kids during COVID, correct?
No, I didn't. They're post-COVID babies.
Post-COVID. Okay. How was that like when it came to the isolation end? Because obviously you live in New York City, so
Hmm.
everything shut down in 2020. And
Yeah,
then, a little more post-COVID, like things were a little looser. How was that, especially because like parents just get isolated in general? Like
yeah.
everyone says, if you want to figure out who your friends are, like get a divorce and have a baby, especially have a baby. How was your mental health with all of that, especially like, with the postpartum with your first and the perinatal? How was all of that, especially with like that isolation factor?
It was it was incredibly difficult. And I think about it in the sense that I live in this massive city and I had never felt so alone. That I was surrounded by people, but it felt as though I might as well have been on a deserted island somewhere. That becoming a parent, especially if you're not you don't or you're not plugged into parent groups or you don't have friends who have already been parents before you. I have a couple of friends who have kids, but they don't live in New York City, so we were the first amongst our close friends to have kids. People say congratulations, they're excited for you, they may check in on occasion, but no, they're not showing up. They also don't, to be quite frank, like most people don't think ahead. As a mom, one of my mom hacks, if you will, is that I buy gifts in bulk. So I have a stash of tons of books that I keep in the closet of my daughter's favorite books for different ages, or chalk or beach toys, whatever it is. Because if there's a kid in class who has a birthday, I don't want to have to go online, research, buy a gift, have it come. So I pre-pack them. I have the age on it, if it's, a specific color, whatever it is. I went on Etsy and I bought these name tags, happy birthday friend from, and then my kid's name. They're pre-done, out the door.
Yeah.
That's my best mom hack that I can share. On the flip side, when you think about your friends who are having kids, do you send them maybe a meal or a DoorDash gift card? Do you stop by with bagels or say, hey, like, I don't know if you're interested in visitors, but like, can I stop by your apartment just to drop off some food? Or like,
Mhm.
what do you need? Or
Yeah.
not even like, what do you need? Like, open Google. What is a good gift to get first time parents? I'm not saying
Right.
you have to get a gift, but like for your inner circle, it's also
Yeah.
like thinking ahead to, how do I support my friends in this new transition? There are
Yeah.
very few people who just stop by or reach out and say, hey, can we come by for a couple of hours on a Sunday afternoon when you're taking your kids to the park? Like we can push them on the swing. Or, hey, do you want us to come by Saturday night after they go to bed to sit on your couch so you can go out to dinner and don't have to pay a babysitter?
Yeah. No,
Like these
I
are,
like, yeah, I think a lot of people just want to come over and hold the kid. And it's like, that's not
if
what
that,
parents need at all.
if that. Yeah. There's this trend that I've been hearing about called nesting parties instead of, have you heard of
Yes.
this?
Yeah. So
It,
one of my friends was going to have one. And then she's like, I kind of got ahead of myself and already did it. So we don't need to. But yeah, it was because it was her fourth kid. So she's like, I can't do like a shower or anything, but if y'all want to come over and like we order a pizza and we just set the room up,
Yeah,
like it feels way less overwhelming because you have a bunch of people that are like, yeah, let's get this all organized exactly how you want it. And then all you have to
exactly.
do is like not to make it sound super simple, but basically pop out a kid and come home.
And it's all set up. When my eldest was born, because she was born 3 weeks early, I had this whole timeline of setting up the nursery and we had all this stuff. But because, again, she was 3 weeks early, when we got from home from the hospital, the carpet for her, the rug for her room was still in a box. The changing table wasn't set up. The crib thankfully was put together. But all of this stuff, we came home to a room full of boxes. And it's
I'm
like
sure that helped
you're
so
already
much.
overwhelmed. Like, and I remember getting a towel out. We couldn't even find the good bath towels. I found like those towels that you just keep just in case you need something. And so it was like this ratty old clean, but ratty old towel. And I was like, okay, I'm going to put this down on the changing pad because I don't know where our the pad covers are. And I remember thinking, this poor child, like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm sorry you got me in the lottery. And when we left the hospital, I'm sure this is a joke that every nurse has heard probably, or every L&D nurse has heard a million times. But we're leaving the hospital. My daughter weighed 5 pounds 11 ounces when she was born, and when you leave the hospital, they're less. So because I think it's
Mhm.
part of the process. I can't give you the exact reasons, but she was under 5. I think she was like 5'6" when we left the hospital. So she was super, super itty bitty. The preemie clothes didn't even fit her. And we're going to the nurse walked us down. We went down the elevator and to the front of the hospital. And I'm looking at my husband's carrying the carrier, and I'm looking at her in the car seat. And I looked at the nurse and I said, "And we just leave? Like that's it?"
Yeah.
And I was kind of joking, but at the same time, I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like,
Yeah.
now what?
Right. They just kind of like and like there's only so much they can do. Like, my sister's nurses were great when like she had my nephew, but yeah, there's only so much you can do and then they're like you kind of got to figure it out.
Make way for the next
And that's the
one.
scary part cuz you're just like
Yeah.
I mm, mm, you know.
Yeah.
And I think because you were saying like finding like mom groups and stuff. I think I know for me, if I had kids, like the number one thing that would turn me off to like a mom group is seeing what I see on those Facebook pages. And I'm just like, I don't want in person people like some of those.
Yeah.
Like there's this one chick on TikTok that does like parodies of just like reading these things off. And I'm like, this is horribly accurate.
Well, yeah, finding your people is challenging would be the understatement.
Hmm.
And going back to what you had shared about COVID, that COVID was such an isolating time and everything became online, which was awesome in a lot of ways. Like remote work, I'm here for it.
Right.
I love being able to have a coffee chat with someone virtually because I spoke with somebody who lives in Alaska recently. I would have never connected with this person, probably before COVID and when online networking became a thing. But for parents, you're raising human beings in the real world.
Hmm.
So talking into the void of some parent group online, it may give you some potentially decent advice. Like I'm not going to knock it, but
Right.
also that's not where the nurturing of your children comes in. That's in the real world, and there's definitely this disconnect.
Well, and I feel like you have no idea what you're doing already, and you're trying to like get support, and you're getting some support, and then you're getting people that are shitting all over you because they don't like, they think what you're doing is terrible. And it's like, I'm glad that you have 7 kids and you have it all figured out, Sharon, but like, this is my first. Give me a break.
So everyone has an opinion.
Oh,
Everyone
yeah.
has an opinion, and it's so not healthy. And it's extremely toxic. And at the end of the day, we're all just doing our best.
Mm-hmm.
Like everyone's doing your best. If your kid is safe, healthy, and relatively happy, then, call that a job well done. And yes, we can
Exactly.
all aim to do better. And most people are just really trying to do their best. And online is not a breeding ground from my personal experience in the warm, fuzzy, we are doing our best.
Yeah, no, it's not. Because then you get a bunch of strangers deciding that they know what's best, and it's like, "No, thanks."
Everyone's an expert online, every
Everyone's a
last
freaking
person.
expert, oh my god. And, like, look, I'm all for the crunchy stuff, but sometimes, like, there's a fine line, like, crunchy stuff for, like, a cold or something, but antibiotics if it's strep throat, oh my god. Like,
And
that kind of
also,
thing.
like, again, we're all raising our own kids and we all have our own way of doing things. I don't want to judge anyone.
Right.
At the same time, though, like, just coming to the table with the we're all doing our best mentality and the good intention. It's
Mhm.
very easy, like you said, Sharon on her computer, she's like, "Oh, I'm gonna tell this chick what's what." Like,
Yeah.
because Sharon is hiding behind a screen and you have no idea who she is, as opposed to like, "Okay, meet me at the playground at sundown and then we'll talk."
Right.
Like,
Exactly. And I just, because I know with, like, obviously COVID, like, you had drive-by baby showers, so, like, you couldn't even really enjoy the small joys of being pregnant. And then, but it did kind of help. It there was a slight advantage a little bit because I think it kind of helped normalize parents not accepting people within 2 hours of birth. Like, it's become normalized to, like, give the parents, like, a couple of days to a couple of weeks, and, like, you don't have to immediately go over because, 9 times out of 10, the kid's just sleeping through the whole thing. Like, I've always told my friends, I'm like, "If you need a couple months, take a couple months." Like, they'll they'll still know who I am 6 months from now. Like,
yeah.
they're not gonna know shit at 3 weeks old.
Well, most of the time I do find not that it's a selfish it's a selfish ask because you also have grandparents who are meeting their grandkids.
Right.
Like, I totally absolutely get that. But I feel like the overwhelming majority of people who are like, I want to show up at your door basically after you sneeze the baby out,
Mhm.
like, it's because they like newborns are rare in the sense that not everyone has them. Like, their kids are being born left and right, but not everyone
Mhm.
has one in their circle. And
Right.
it is quite an incredible thing
And it's such a
to
short window,
see.
and I totally get it.
Exactly. So it is a selfish ask, like, I want to see a newborn. I want to hold a
Mhm.
newborn. Like, this is your child and you are a person in my life. And but that comes from a whether we know it or not, it often comes from a selfish place.
Yeah. Because honestly, I don't know any parent that genuinely wants to be hosting 30 people in their house when they're in matching diapers with their kid.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
I just like, my
Slightly
best
larger,
friend.
but yes.
Yeah, my best friend, like, I'm in, like, the I would probably be on the list of, like, the inner circle people that would be able to, like, kinda be on that first round of introductions,
Sure.
and I was just like, "If you don't, like, want people over, you don't have to have people over." Like,
Also, I go back to this, if you do want to come over, it's not, I want to come over to hold the baby. It's like,
mm,
hey, I can come over and cook for you. Hey, I can come over and bring a meal. Hey, I can come over and do a laundry for you.
exactly.
It's
Don't
not
show
like,
up empty-handed.
well, it's not even don't show up empty handed, but if you want to come and hold my child, like, while I sit there looking at you, thinking about the million other things that need to be done while, like, I am literally in pain as the drugs are wearing off, like, maybe not the best. And everyone has their own experience. I know people who loved having visitors immediately, like when they got home. And if that's your jam, like, power to you. I was not one of those people. I loved having the grandparents there to meet their grandchildren. That was lovely. Um, Having the immediate siblings there, also lovely. But everyone else was told, like, see you in 3 months if you have this list of vaccinations.
Yeah. No, and, like, that's what I mean by, like, don't show up empty-handed is either show up with something or show up with the intention of actually helping,
Exactly.
because it's
That's what new
overwhelming.
parents need.
Yeah.
New
It's
parents
so
need your help.
overwhelming. Yep. Because, like, they yeah. The shower's not a break. Like, a a nap is somewhat of a break, but still, it's not because so many of my friends are like, "I can still hear my kid crying, so I'm gonna get up," you know? So
Yeah.
it's not as much of a break as people think it is. And I think we're finally moving in a direction where it's normalized that like new parents need help. They don't need someone else to host in their house.
Yeah. And well, that's the other thing. If you show up in somebody's house, if you are welcomed, like for whatever
Hmm.
reason, clean up after yourself. Like don't consider yourself a guest. You do not consider yourself a
Oh my
guest.
God.
If you're going to have a glass of water, you better make sure that glass is either in the dishwasher or washed and put away or on a drying rack. Like, do not treat this as a coming to Sunday brunch opportunity. And
Yeah.
if you don't know, ask. And it's very possible that the new parent will have no idea what they need. And you can
Hmm.
come armed with suggestions. Like that the internet is a lovely thing for this. Like
Yeah,
research, super easy.
exactly. Which, speaking of, we've talked about mom groups and stuff like that and all that good stuff, but tell me about BeeKyn, because this is kind of a game changer
I'm so
from what you were
excited.
telling me.
Yeah, so going back to my story of isolation and becoming a new parent, and any parent who's listening will feel this in some level, maybe not the same way that I did, but meeting friends as an adult is hard.
Yep.
It's hard. Um no matter how you slice it. You add kids into that mix and like holy shit, it's even harder. Because now you're talking not just is this somebody you want to hang out with, but are our kids roughly the same age? Are our nap schedules aligned? Are our activity schedules aligned? Do our partners get along? Like there are all of these different variables. Are you geographically convenient to me? Like do I need to
Hmm.
drive to you? How far do I need to drive? And I talked to once I was out of my postpartum depression fog, I started talking to parents and I was like, okay, so like where do you find your friends? Because I was in mom groups online and I was like, this is not for me. I'm not like, hey, let's get together. And I got together with a couple of people and it was awkward and it was a very strange first date. And most parents I met said, oh, well, when your kid starts elementary school, when your kid starts whatever. And I was just like, that's a ridiculous amount of time to waste. Like my life is ticking by. And also then you're banking on the fact that your kids are going to the same school or programs with people who you're going to get along with. And people are like, yeah, but that's kind of just the way it is. And you find friends, you find things to talk about. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to talk about my child's bodily functions. I don't want to, and that's honestly, you're at the
Literally.
playground and you're literally talking about, oh, well, is your kid sleeping through the night? What are they eating? Like what brands do you like? And it's your brain, it just turns to mush. And we
Hmm.
we are humans. We were adults and social individuals well before we had children, and for some reason that kind of just stops, or maybe it doesn't stop but it's not nurtured once you have kids. And that was really the impetus behind creating what is now BeeKyn. And BeeKyn is a playdate matching and scheduling platform for families. So I honestly am seeing it as a game changer. We have our prototype right now out for feedback. We're going to be launching the full app nationwide later this year, later this summer actually. And it's a game changer for a couple of reasons. First, you have two problems that we're solving. One is like the how do you find your people? And if you think about it like three circles of a Venn diagram, you have okay, these people need to be geographically convenient. They need to be available in the same time that I am. That's one circle. The other circle is they have to have kids roughly the same age as my kids. And the third one is we have to have stuff in common. Like I want to be able to actually get along with these people outside of just the fact that they have kids. So stuff in common. And that little tiny overlap among all of these three circles, that's the parent friend trifecta. So we help to solve for that. We get to know you as a caregiver, your interests, your hobbies, your networking goals if you have them, about you as an individual sans child. And then we get to know about your children. And based on your availability, we match you with your ideal play dates. So families in your area that you're likely to hit it off with as friends. The second component of this is that some people have their tribe. Some people are just super social. They had kids the same time that their friends had kids. Their kids are in daycare or whatever it is, and they've already found their people. Find me somebody who doesn't have an endless text chain of when are we going to get together? Oh, my kid, has a fever. We can't actually do tomorrow. Or, a text chain with 4 different families. How about, Sunday at 5? And then you have 10 different messages coming through. So the second part of the BeeKyn platform is that based on your availability, what you said is your availability, you can match with your friends and see when your joint availability is, schedule your play date in 1 or 2 taps and sync it to your calendars.
The sync to the calendar. Oh my God,
Yeah.
that right there. This sounds like Bumble BFF for mom friends, honestly.
It's not just, to be clear, it's not just for moms. So yes, like moms will probably be the power users, but with
Right.
a subscription for BeeKyn, we have a free account, but if you pay for a premium subscription, which is the cost of a latte essentially,
Mhm.
you have 3 caregiver profiles on your account.
It's
And so that
amazing.
includes potentially 2 primary caregivers and then a flex. So if you have a mom and a dad, everyone's family unit looks different. So we want to
Mhm.
account for that. Maybe you have an involved grandparent. Wouldn't it be nice if they could go out with their kids on the weekends and meet other grandparents? Like finding friends for them. Or in New York City, there's the nanny culture. And a lot of nannies, if they don't speak English, they're non-native English speakers, being able for them to find nanny friends within the same native language who are watching kids who are also the same age. So there are so many possibilities here. And for dads in particular, I just want to give dads some credit that, my
Yes.
husband in particular, super not just involved, like he's a dad. He's doing his dad thing and he's kicking ass
Right.
at it. I hate that, like, oh, he's super involved. No,
I
he's a
know.
dad. He's showing up.
Exactly.
He's doing
Exactly.
right. Like he's such a good dad. But for dads, there just aren't, like, how do you connect with other dads in the world?
Yeah.
So for him to take our girls to the playground, which he does all of the time because he is a dad, and to be able to connect with another dad with similar interests and, kids the same age, that's amazing.
Yeah, because I feel like we put dads on such a high pedestal for, like, below the bare minimum, but at the same time, we kind of ignore their needs for, like, social stuff, like, "Oh, you're just a dad." Like, with moms, we're like, "Oh my god, we must support the mothers, this, that, and the third." We're getting there, but we must support the mothers, but then dads are just like, "Okay, well, like, I don't have any dad friends." Like, all of my friends are single and don't understand
Hmm.
that, like, I'm gonna need to, like, hangover backpack my kids to go somewhere. And, like, a lot of the times, like, they'll get lucky that they're like, "Oh, just bring the kids." And, like, you got a bunch of, like, uncles and aunts and, like, that's how you have your village, and it's amazing, but that's not always the case.
Exactly. And it's also, I love the idea of supporting moms. Absolutely need to do it. It's a must. I hate when we say, oh, this was mom approved. Like a diaper is super absorbent. Every mom says so. And it's like, okay, my husband can tell if a diaper is absorbent. Like
Yeah.
he's changed enough of them.
Mhm.
So marketing just to moms is in some ways a detriment, that
Mhm.
it's becoming, I think it should be more about supporting the family and how do we elevate family dynamics in this way? How do we serve the social needs of families? Also, like for people who are in a relationship, finding an adult friend hard. If you want to find a couple to go out with where like you actually get along with both people and you're like, hey, we'd like to go out to dinner, and I'm not going to want to jab a fork into my eye having a conversation with both of you. Like
Literally, though.
it's hard.
It's so
And
hard, with or without kids, like
exactly. And it's not that these aren't good people. It's just you have to
Right.
find your people.
Mhm.
And you have to find the people that you jive with. And so BeeKyn takes all of this into consideration. So if you're going on a family play date where, okay, you're taking into consideration all of the caregivers, you're taking into consideration the kids, if there's, whatever that your unique village looks like, your family
Mhm.
village, like we're the app for that.
I love that so freaking much, like, you were telling me about it, like, obviously on our prep call, and I was just like, "This is literally the shit. This is amazing."
And I forgot possibly the best thing, because who doesn't love rewards, right? We're BeeKyn is gamifying playdates. So when you go on a playdate, with anyone. So someone we match you with or your best friend down the street. And when you coordinate it through BeeKyn, so when we make your life easier to set that play date up, you earn points. And we have partners in the family and kids space for discounts and products. So in New York City, it's discounts on baby gym classes, on swim classes, music classes, products like hair care, shoes, baby clothes, things that you're probably already looking for or already buying. So you're getting the mental load truncated because we're making your life easier to connect and have these social interactions, and you're getting rewarded for it.
That's absolutely amazing. And obviously, like, it takes into account whether you're a working parent or stay at home or flex, like remote, that kind of thing. Obviously you're a working parent on top of all of this. Like you've got this and then you've got like your day job and all of that. How do you I don't want to say balance because I hate the word balance, but how do you kind of keep all your plates spinning?
I don't. I absolutely don't.
Well, yeah,
I
but
also, like, to be clear, hot mess, hi, like, I'm here.
yeah.
I first just want to say that I also hate the term working parent, and I use it too.
Mhm.
But if someone is a stay at home parent, like, that's work.
It really
That
is.
is work.
As
So
someone who is nannied, holy shit.
it's hard. It's the
It's
hardest
honestly the
job.
best form of birth control for my ass, but yeah.
I love
I'm like,
that.
yeah, I don't want to do this full time. I just don't. Like,
It's hard.
I love you, but I get to give you back.
Exactly.
This is
Yeah,
not my thing.
this is my time boxed hours and I give you back. So every
Mhm.
parent is a working parent, regardless of whether you work inside or out of the home. And those plates are hard to spin. They crash, they fall. I'm not Greek, but I might as well scream Opa for the number of times that they crash on the ground. Um, it it's a constant learning journey for me because I'm very type A. I want to do everything. I want to get BeeKyn into the hands of every parent because I know it's going to make a difference.
Mhm.
I write a lot. I recently had an article published in Business Insider. I had an article published in Motherly back in January. I have some other ones coming out. And I've made it my personal mission to how do I help parents make, in my small little way,
Mhm.
make this journey easier. And sometimes it's really just about slowing down and realizing you can't do it all, or you can do it all, but you can't do it all immediately. And it's about planning it out. So my plates are endlessly spinning, some fast, some slow, and some absolutely crashing to the ground.
Which I feel like is normal.
Right? Like let's just
These
say
social
what
media
it is.
parents, like, no. No, 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 no. You
There's no filter. And if you're saying you have it all together, like maybe you're just lying to yourself. Or if you truly have it all together, like props to you. I am not an Instagram parent. If I showered today, like so I'm viewing today as a total win. Like
honestly
I'm
though.
right. I showered, I'm wearing clean clothes, I have fresh coffee. Well, I actually microwave the coffee, don't tell my husband. But like I just like whatever, but I have the caffeine, and that's exciting. And
Yeah.
you have to take the wins where you can get them. And
Yeah.
for me, it's about accepting that everything can't be perfect, and it is so hard because I want it to be perfect. And in some ways it's good because I'm also showing my kids that that's okay.
Ugh, that's huge, especially because you have two girls, right?
I have two little girls, yeah.
That's yeah. Especially with the way society like looks at women to handle everything. That's amazing.
Yeah. And and this was part of my treatment back in the day in that lovely program. That not so spa place that when I'm having a moment, and I still have those moments, I'll say to my eldest, who kind of gets it, mommy needs a minute. Like mommy's very overwhelmed right now. And she may not fully understand what that means, but the fact that I'm saying it out loud, I'm naming it, like I'm not trying to show her that I'm perfect. If I do
Right.
something, like if I yell at her, which I do on occasion because I am not perfect,
Right.
mommy will say she's sorry. And sometimes mommy gets overwhelmed. Do you feel overwhelmed sometimes? Yeah, mommy does that too. And mommy's very sorry. And mommy's apologizing because she knows she shouldn't have done that. And it becomes like, I'm human, you're human. This is what humans do.
It's a
We're
respect and boundaries thing too, and
yeah.
teaching them how to identify their emotions.
Yes.
and that's huge. Especially like we grew up in the generation, like we were probably one of the last generations, but we grew up in the generation where like, suck it up, buttercup.
Yes, put on your big girl, but it was
Put on your big
put on
girl
your
panties or whatever.
That's it. That's it. Put on
Yeah.
your big girl panties. And I have that book somewhere, by the way. It is a book. Yeah,
Yikes.
which is amazing. Uh,
Yikes.
yeah, and my oldest is almost 3, so she's heavily into that toddlerdom. And in some ways, I'm
It's a fun
kind of like,
age.
yeah, it's a fun age. It's terrifying. And in some ways, I am also like a toddler because
Mhm.
emotionally, like I'm learning a lot of this stuff alongside her. And
Literally, you're
it's
reparenting yourself while parenting
yeah,
your kid.
and it's kind of embarrassing to admit, but it's also like it's the height of humbling to
Mhm.
be able to say, okay, I'm not raising my kid. Like we're kind of growing together. Like I'm her spirit guide. I'm shepherding her
Right.
into adulthood, hopefully. And at the same time, like I've got to learn some shit too.
Yeah. I mean, the amount of times that like I'll be at the grocery store and there'll be a kid having like a stage 5 meltdown and you just see the mom just look mortified. And I've looked at the kid and been like, same.
I love it.
Like
I
that
love
is what
it.
I'm doing on the inside. It's just less cute when I do it in public. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
I feel the same way, kid. Like I'm in a grocery store. The lights are bright. There's too much noise. It's overwhelming. And I also didn't sleep well last night. So like I'm doing that on the inside because it's no longer okay for me to do it on the outside. So like same kid.
Yeah, I usually look at the mom during that time, and this could be definitely hit or miss because some people
Mhm.
are just like, stay out of my business or whatever. But oftentimes, if you take a hard look at the parent and they're trying, and if they're not doing anything, it's probably because they've tried everything and now they're letting their kid have their meltdown, like letting them
Yeah.
have their space. And I do this with my kid all the time. Okay, you take your time, you let me know when you're done. Like I'm here
Yeah.
when you're done. And we were all children. And none of us were perfect. Like no matter what your mommy and daddy told you, like none of us were the perfect little Stepford children. I look at the parent and you could see like the pain, the embarrassment. And there have been occasions where I've like in passing said to a parent, like specifically a mom, like it's gonna be okay. Like you're doing great. And sometimes like maybe they're giving me the finger as I'm walking away, like
You're
without those.
right.
But like everyone just needs a little encouragement.
Exactly. And I feel like cuz I'm not a parent, so I can't be like it's going to be fine. I'm like same. And it kind of breaks the tension
Yeah.
cuz you literally watch them deflate and go, "Okay, it's fine." Because I'm sure they get so many people that are just like, "Oh my god, like your kid's crying." Like, yeah, I would like to be too because
Yeah.
it's bright out and I'm just over it.
Think of it like the airplane scenario when everyone gets on a plane and you see that there happens to be a baby or a toddler and everyone collectively goes, oh shit, like it's going to be
Mhm.
that flight. And I remember we took our daughter on her first flight. We were going to Seattle and the flight attendant, one of them came over to me and said, just so no matter how your kid reacts to this flight, like everyone on this plane has been a kid. So,
Mhm.
regardless of the looks that you might get or whatever, it's okay. And I
Yeah.
was just like, thank you for saying that. My daughter had a great first flight, slept basically the entire way. It was glorious.
Mhm.
But the fact that someone like saw that I was freaking out about what was going to happen and I'm not the best flyer anyway.
Mhm.
And she came over and she was like, this may go to shit. Like, this may not go for you, to
Yeah.
be quite honest. And that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you got to think about it too. Like, us as adults on a plane, like I get antsy. I want to
Yeah.
get up and move around. Like it took off weird. Now my ear hurts. Like, and honestly, I'm just over here like you're getting on a flight. You're risking having 1 to 20 kids on. Buy the damn noise canceling headphones and shut up.
Yeah. Again, this is life. Like, for there to be
Exactly.
life, people are reproducing. There are
Because
kids.
there's no there may be a few, but I don't think there's any parent that enjoys listening to their kid lose their shit the entire plane ride.
if there is a parent who is listening, who is hearing this, who actually enjoys listening to their kid have a
I want
meltdown,
you to drop it in the comments because
please,
I need to study you.
please explain. Or maybe like, because it grates on me like nails on a chalkboard. But sometimes the only thing that you can do is let it happen.
Yeah, because that actually helps it chill out quicker.
Yeah, you're letting them go through the motions. It's not like, here, have this toy. Here, are you hungry? Here, are you thirsty? Here, are you this? It's like,
Mhm.
oh, you're fueling the fire.
Exactly. Exactly. And it's just, there are some I say I don't like kids, but really I think it's I don't like certain parents because like, if your kid's running around Target and like super in my way and being weird, like why are you 3 aisles down and not hauling ass to come get them kind of thing. If you're hauling ass to come get them, I totally get it because like they like to take off like freaking gazelles. But if you're just like on your phone and not paying attention, what are we doing here? But for the most part, I'm like, I get it. Like kids are not always fun. They're just
They're
not.
not, again, they're learning how to be human.
Yeah.
Like
So are
there's
we
certain things.
still.
Exactly. And as an adult, you're still learning stuff. So now you have the capacity of a little child. It's just be it's hard. It's all around hard.
Mm-hmm. It definitely is. But yeah, what's your, I guess to wrap, like what's your biggest non-negotiable when it comes to like doing your best to take care of yourself with all of this? Because you have to at least try to be whole before you can spin all the plates.
Yeah. My non-negotiable is creating boundaries. And this is something that again, I'm a work in progress when it comes to this, but I take my lunch break every day. When I need to pick up my kids, I'm not like slinking away. I'll sign on later and do what I need to do. I have a flexible job in that way. But last week my kid had a stomach bug, and instead of powering through, I called in and I was like, I was up all last night and I was clear about my boundaries. Like, my kid is sick. I am tired, and I need a day off. Like, I'm taking a sick day, and I'm not hiding what my boundaries are. So that's become very liberating for me, and it's definitely helped to allow me to even attempt to spin the plates.
Well, and it sounds like your employer is actually like understanding, which for some reason is a freaking rarity. But here we
Yeah.
are. This is corporate America.
Yeah, look, it comes down to what you do, where you do it, who your manager is. There are so many variables. But at the end of the day, like, I'm committed to my job.
Hmm.
I, that like I love the company I work for. I love what I do, and being able to do these other things on the side and in my own time, and to be a parent and to show up for my kids, that makes me a better employee. And I'm very thankful that they recognize that.
I love that. So can we find BeeKyn on the App Store yet, or are we not quite there?
We are not quite there yet, but you can go to our website, sign up for our launch list, which is just, we'll notify you when we're getting ready to go live in the App Store. Find out a bit more about the app. Our website is up right now, but we have a revamp coming with the fresh prototype in about a week and a half. And so by the time, hopefully, your listeners are listening to this episode, that will all be up and ready. But like I said, we're launching nationwide. So if you have LinkedIn, please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn, follow BeeKyn on Instagram or LinkedIn, and definitely check out the website if you want to stay in touch and be in the know when our revolutionary platform makes its way out into the universe.
And we will have all of that info linked below in the episode description, whether it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, whichever. And obviously, like when you guys get the highlights on Instagram, she and BeeKyn will be tagged there to make things a
Awesome.
lot easier for people. So, Alli, thank you so, so much for just being as raw and vulnerable as you were and just
Of course.
doing what you can to like try and make it a little easier on parents.
Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to have gotten the invite, and I'm also looking forward to my next cup of espresso, which will be coming shortly after we wrap this
There you go.
recording.